It started with the biggest pipe bomb the FBI had ever seen.
There is a bomb in Centennial Park. You have 30 minutes.
It ended in a dumpster after the largest manhunt in American history.
My knees knocked so hard that I was about to answer them. That's how nervous I was.
Eric Rudolph and the rise of anger.
Domestic terrorism has been metastasizing across the country for a long time now.
True story, true crime, true consequences for us all.
American Shrapnel, from award-winning journalists Becca Andrews and John Archibald, two-time winner of the Pulitzer Prize. Now available wherever you get your podcasts.
As a scientist, I can tell you that Sundays are only 24 hours long. But with NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV, you get every game every Sunday all in one place. That's upwards of 30 hours of NFL in one day. How can there be 30 hours in 24 hours, you ask? I have a theory. Magic. New users get NFL Sunday Ticket for 8 payments of $34.50 per month. Sign up at NFLSundayTicket.com. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games excludes digital-only games and commercial use. Terms and embargoes apply. Availability varies.
Buckeye Talk is about to begin. Hey, 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 come on in.
Welcome back to Buckeye Talk. I'm Stephen Means, that's Stefan Krajisnik, and that is Andrew Gillis. In breaking news, Ryan Day likes to take shots in the passing game. I don't know what he likes to do in this. I mean,
we should have edited the intro song for this podcast specifically to be LMFAO's shot.
Don't sue us. That was less than 60 seconds of him saying that. So don't
also
sue
sounded
us.
Nothing like a real singer.
He was just saying the word shots in a certain pattern. Don't sue us. Please don't sue us because we don't have the money for that. We talked with Ryan Day, Matt Patricia, and Brian Hartline as Ohio State's off week is off and running. You like what I did there? Off week, off and running. You like that I did that? Does it ruin it when I've had those moments. Do I ruin it when I acknowledge that I did it?
Potentially. We'll review the film during our improvement week.
We won't have the iPads on the sideline. We can't do it right away. Okay. So we talked with Brian Hartline, Matt Patricia, and Ryan Day. We're going to do defense tomorrow. We're going to do offense today. And it's essentially just like a reset where everything is, where everything stands. Because this is the first time we've talked with the coordinator since fall camp ended. So we got like 15 minutes with Day, 15 minutes with Brian Hartline, 15 minutes with Matt Patricia, and we were out. It was short, but it was a lot of good information. Stefan, where would you like to start with some of the good information? And with Ryan Day, it seems, well, really, with both coordinators, you can pull from Ryan Day because I thought he did a good job talking offense and defense today. So where would you like to start of most pressing things that we needed to get answers for today because it's going to matter in 14 days?
I think we should start with the Brandon Inniss conversation because a lot of our texters have sent in text 614-350-3315, since the Ohio game, during the Ohio game, just a lot of questions about Brandon Inniss. And I think we focused a lot of the Brandon Inniss discourse on the punt return game because that was kind of a glaring negative if you were to find a negative for a team that started 3-0 with a win against Texas. Like if you were to find a negative, it was the punt return game, and that kind of became the center of the talking point with Brandon Inniss. And I think it led to us maybe glossing over the, I guess, lack thereof stats that he's put up in the offense. And you did a good job of asking, Brian Hartline about that today. And I thought that conversation was pretty interesting.
Why isn't the slot receiver getting the ball, Andrew?
Because there's a super weapon on the outside. And
sure, but there have been super weapons. There's been super weapons on the outside for 7 years.
Sure, but I think it's probably twofold. Do you I know this is kind of a rhetorical question, but do you want to make a case that Marv is better than JJ or any of the other outside receivers have been better than JJ?
I mean, in relation to their overall, what they're going to do on a football field, I don't know. What's the ceiling for JJ's stats through 12 games this year?
The ceiling? I don't know, 1,500 yards, 1,600 yards.
You think he's going to get that through 12 games, 1,500? I'm not disparaging.
I think 1,500. Okay. I think 1,500 is possible for him.
And so I went back to 2017 when Ryan Day first got here, and I looked at how many catches the slot receiver had in every single season. Because the premise of my question, as Stefan pointed out, was the slot receiver position is just a high usage position by default, regardless of what your outside receivers are. It has no relation to that. It's its own thing. Because of how this offense runs, it's very easy for a slot receiver to rack up the catches. In 2017, when they were still rotating wide receivers, they had two guys rotating in the slot. It was KJ Harris and Paris Campbell. KJ Hill led the team in catches that year with 56 catches. You want to know who was second? The guy who was rotating with Paris Campbell with 40. So they combined, the slot receiver position combined for 96 catches. And that was with JT Barrett. The next year, they started throwing the ball all over the place with Dwayne Haskins in 2018. They just flip-flopped. They were still number one and number two. Paris Campbell set a new record for most catches in a single season by a Buckeye with 90. Number two was KJ Hill with 70. 19, this is where Andrew's point comes into play here of, the outside receiver is pretty awesome too. Because in 2017 and 2018, the outside receivers, in 2018, it was Terry McLaurin, but he was really just a downfield threat. And Johnny Dixon, I think injuries have just kind of caught up with him. In 2019, KJ Hill just has the slot spot all to himself, but they're also running the ball heavy. So he only has 57 catches, but that leads the team. Second was Chris Olave that year with like 40-something catches. In 2020, when you only play 8 games, Garrett Wilson had been leading the team in catches because they moved him into the slot after playing X as a true freshman. And then Chris Olave went nuclear against Clemson and Alabama. And so he ended up leading the team in catches with 45, but Garrett Wilson was second with 43 catches playing out of the slot. In 2021, again, your two outside receivers are superhumans. Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave, they are regarded as the best two returning receivers in college football. And Jackson Smith-Njigba as a slot receiver has 95 catches. Okay, fine. You want to take out the games where Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson missed. Okay, that's 30 catches. So he goes down to 65. So he's still up there, right? It's still a high usage number. And then Emeka Egbuka has it for the next 3 seasons while playing alongside superhumans. Emeka had 74 catches in 2022, and that was second to Marv 77. In 2023, Emeka, even while dealing with injuries and missing 2 games, had 41 catches, which was tied with Cade Stover for second. While Marv had, 60-plus catches and was a Heisman. So playing with superhumans, he still has 40-plus catches. Last year, the superhuman of superhumans was on the team, JJ, and he was amazing. And Emeka Egbuka had 7 more catches than him, 81 catches that led the team. So that's when I say it's not I don't think it's in relation to JJ and Carnell, why Brandon Inniss is not getting the ball right now. I think it has a lot more to do with, I asked Brian Hartline about it. He said his job description, and it doesn't sound like his job description was to be a pass catcher the first couple of weeks. It was to be a blocker and to be essentially do your job guy. And that's a very different world than where the slot receiver position has ever lived here. And that's, sure, they've got 2 first-round outside wide receivers. This is not the first time they've had 2 outside wide receivers who are first-round draft picks, and it's not going to be last time because Brian Hartline is still here. Though the way he handled his presser was the first time I felt like he handled the presser the way a head coach would handle the presser. So maybe that clock has started, but that's a conversation for another day. Do we think this is going to continue? He has 5 catches through 3 games for 47 yards. If he keeps up this pace, he is going to have less than 60 catches by the end of the regular season. Do we think this is the pace he keeps up with now that they're in the Big Ten play and they're starting to figure out their identity?
Well, I think the pace is going to pick up a bit for him. My initial reaction was also kind of in the line with Gillis's of, it's Carnell and JJ where, last year Mecca was the second best receiver on the team. Whereas this year it feels like Brandon Inniss is the third best. Sure, that maybe plays some part into it, but
sure.
Maybe the more I've thought about it, the more I think it's not necessarily Carnell and JJ that are taken away from him as much as it has been through 3 games, Max Clare and Will Kazmarek taken away from him, with Ohio State going so much 12, 13, 14 personnel. And the reason I think, I think that's part of why his numbers haven't been great so far is because, he's probably not on the field as much as we saw Mecca on the field last year. But I think that's going to increase as the competition changes and they're not necessarily tinkering, right? Like we talked last week about them going I formation from like 1st and 10 on the 35, 40-yard line. Like you're not going to see that, at least not, I don't think so, against teams like Washington and Penn State and Michigan and Minnesota even. Like I just think you're going to see more of, maybe when you get into these matchup games, what is your best thing? And 12 personnel is certainly really good for them, and they're going to run a lot. And maybe 12 personnel is their best thing. But I think we're also going to see a lot more 11 personnel than we've seen. I think we're going to see Brandon Inniss on the field more, getting opportunities to catch passes. So I think, will he get, if you like the number we've been putting, if you projected that he was going to have 65 catches this season, I think he can still get to 50. Getting to 65 might be tough because, this is 3 games where he's been below maybe what you projected. But getting to 50 is still reasonable because maybe now it's kind of when it starts for him. Because it's not like, Steven, you and I did the red zone kind of film review for the Leave No Doubt pod. He was open on some of those plays, right? If Julian Sayin hits him 1 or 2 times, we're looking at a stat line that's sure, maybe not a ton of receptions, maybe not a ton of yards, but he's got 2 touchdowns. Like that looks just as productive. It just doesn't look productive on a stat sheet right now. And I think back to, Day's press conference on Tuesday of when he's talking about a deep shot to Jeremiah Smith against Ohio, and that play is set up by Carnell going in motion, and then Brandon Inniss going over the middle of the field and taking the attention of a safety, and now you got JJ wide open. Well, okay, Brandon Inniss did his job. He got open and got the attention of the safety to where Jeremiah Smith was wide open. So I think the stats suggest what they suggest, and maybe it's not a Mecca level, but I think we're going to see Brandon Inniss be pretty involved in this offense as they move forward, and they're not maybe tinkering so much with different formations and personnel packages. I think we're going to see more. Brian Hartline just kept saying, Ohio State's offense is still going to be Ohio State's offense. And a lot of the times that is 3 receivers with the tight end, and you got some explosive plays going on. Maybe the tight end room is deeper where we see more 12 personnel than we have in years past, but I don't think that's going to eliminate Brandon Inniss and his role in this offense moving forward.
So
Carnell Tate as wide receiver 3 had 52 catches last year.
I think Brandon Inniss can get there.
Right. But right now, if Ohio State plays 16 games, Brandon Inniss is on track for 26 catches this year. And that's exaggeratory that he's going to have 26. But that's how far off we are of, I don't know, there's 2 other first round. Okay, Carnell Tate, while playing with 2 other first round wide receivers, while also having both running backs have over 20 catches, had 52 catches. And even if you take away the college football playoff run and you make it just about the regular season, he went into the playoff with 42 catches. Maybe that's my question then to you, Andrew. Does Brandon Inniss have 42 catches by the end of the regular season? Based off what we've seen, but also the way that history has taught us, but also the way Brian Hartline was talking on Tuesday about why Brandon Inniss hasn't gotten the ball more.
42? No, I don't think so. Because, what I was saying originally was I think the first reason is, I think there's super weapons at the outside receiver. And I think if they were not kind of what they were, then he's probably getting the ball a little bit more. But it's more than that. And that was going to be my point of, I think there's 3 things that go into this. Number 1, you have the monstars at receiver on the outside. Number 2, I think the tight end usage is deeper and better than all those numbers that Stephen was reeling off, with Emeka and everybody else. I think the tight end room is deeper than it was in those years. I think the tight end is being used differently in this offense. And then I think the third thing, and maybe this is just the simplest answer, is that maybe Brandon Inniss is just not Jackson Smith and Jigba level. I understand that's the standard here, but maybe he's just not this is guy. I mean, every time he takes a snap, you look at him and you go, 1st round pick, 19th overall pick, 8th overall pick, 10th overall pick, 12th overall pick, 25th overall pick. Maybe he's just not that type of receiver. And I think, that was going to be my point in the first couple of minutes of hey, I think it's all 3. I don't think it's one thing that's kind of factoring into this, because I think if you were to kind of draw up what you have, I think you would want to say, all right, Jeremiah and Carnell, those are 2 receivers that they have to get the ball. We want to get the ball in their hands. Ryan Day said this before Texas, you don't want to force anything, but you do know that there are guys that have to touch the ball for you to win. And, he said it's kind of a tricky dynamic there. And Jeremiah and Carnell are 2 guys. So that's not different from previous years. But what is different from previous years is, number 1, the tight end usage and the tight end development and the tight end groupings. And number 2 is, again, I'm wondering if everybody just expects every Ohio State receiver to be the best in the world. And I'm not saying that that's an unfair expectation considering what we've seen, but I think that's also just totally fair to say, he's not Jackson Smith-Njigba or Emeka Egbuka. He's not as good as those receivers were. And I think that might just be part of this as well. It's all of those things combining. I don't know if there's a single catch-all, yes, we have figured out what's going on with Brandon Inniss or with the slot position.
Do you think that's true?
I think there's some element to it. I mean, yeah, I don't think Brandon is as good as JSN or Mecca. I still think he can get the 40 catches by the end of the regular season.
Andrew, do you think that's true?
That Brandon Inniss is not as good as JSN and Emeka? Yes, I do think
But he's not. I don't know if we can say he is or isn't now. He's played 3 games as a starter, so like you can't compare a guy 3 games as a starter into Jackson and Emeka's full body of work. It's. Do you think they have the potential? Do you think he can get there? Is the question. That by probably. The end of this year, we're looking. Okay, so if we think that, then the production has to match that. And that doesn't mean he's going to break a bunch of records, but it also doesn't mean that he has 5 targets in 3 games, right? I think I'm looking at Jackson and Emeka right now and their stats. Jackson's first game as a starting slot receiver, he had 2 catches for 12 yards against Minnesota, while Garrett and Chris had a day. And then CJ had to throw the ball 54 times the following week against Oregon. So Jackson got 7 catches for 145 yards and 2 touchdowns. So he had a moment. The very next week against Tulsa, Jackson had 2 catches for 33 yards and then started to settle in here and be a normal part of what things were here, which makes me wonder. Day and Hartline both admitted that in hindsight, they probably could have put more on Julian Sayin's plate. Given how they did handle the Texas game, is there a world that exists right now where all 3 of Ohio State's wide receivers have at least 8 catches after the first 3 games, or at least are in double-figure catches if they don't play it safe with Julian Sayin in the first game, especially since the next 2 games, it was either we're going to throw a 7-yard pass that's going 90 yards or we're just tinkering with things. And would we be thinking about Brandon Inniss differently had they decided not to throw 54 passes the way they did with CJ Stroud, but I mean, he threw 19 against Grambling because, and then he threw 32 against Ohio. So if he'd have been 27 to 30 passes, and so there was just more opportunities, do we think we'd still be sitting here having this conversation? Because that's the idea of, do you think Brandon Inniss can be as good as the slot receivers Ohio State has had for the past 7 years?
I think it probably would be a different conversation because I think the way they approached that Texas game lended itself to playing more tight ends and different tight end packages, which I think led to Brandon probably not getting involved as much. And you talk about kind of some of the breakout games in the past. I think maybe this is a premature, either outrageous prediction or mark it down or whatever. But I think Brandon Inniss' breakout game is coming against Washington. With the amount of man coverage they like to play, I'm bunching those 3 receivers together, and Max Clare's getting involved as well. And I'm telling Washington, all right, go stop all 3 of them. And they're going to lean their safeties toward helping out with JJ and Carnell, and that's going to open some doors for Brandon Inniss. I actually think the Monday night game, I don't know how late you guys stayed up to watch the Raiders-Chargers game. The Raiders offense, as bad as it was, got moving in the second half because Chip Kelly was kind of identifying when they were going to run man, and he was stacking his receivers, and Jacoby Myers was just play after play after play coming across the middle of the field, getting wide open. Mm-hmm. And I think that avenue is there for Brandon Inniss against Washington. So, yes, to answer your original question, I think had they approached the Texas game differently, it would have given him some more opportunities. Also, had they not tinkered so much in the Grambling and Ohio games, and I'm not saying them tinkering was the wrong thing to do. They needed 2 to 3 weeks of extra training camp because training camp was mostly about beating Texas. So between the tinkering and the way they approached the Texas game, I just think Brandon Inniss was kind of the guy that was the odd man out in a lot of those situations. And this Washington game lends itself to him kind of being the breakout guy.
Emeka Egbuka against Notre Dame in his first start had 9 for 90, but also there's the context that like 12 snaps into the game, Jackson Smith-Njigba got knocked out of the game and essentially ended his season. Emeka was not, technically speaking, Emeka Egbuka, I do not believe, was a starting receiver to start that year. Julian Fleming missed the first, I think, 2 games of the year that year, and he was supposed to be the starting Z, and Jackson got hurt in the first game. Because I remember us on this pod having conversations of how they were going to handle that Z position of if they're going to move Jackson all over the place, does where Jackson is decide whether or not Emeka Egbuka and Julian Fleming were on the field. So again, this is why like the hey, is Brandon Inniss as good as the finished product of Jackson Smith-Njigba and Emeka Egbuka? That's not a fair question because that's not where Brandon Inniss is in his career. He's at, okay, is he as good as what they were as first-time starters the first 4 weeks? Which goes back to the initial question, Andrew, how much, it's almost a chicken before the egg conversation, right? Of how much of this is maybe Brandon Inniss, you're right, is more in the Julian Fleming lane of things versus what if he's Jamison Williams and they just need to throw him the ball?
How, like, are you saying like which one is more likely?
Yeah.
Or
yeah, like there's one ball. Like one, because one of those examples is there's only one ball and there's a lot of mouths to feed. Somebody's just not going to get a full plate of food. Versus the other one was because there was a significant gap in between where he was in talent level at that point, thanks to injuries and a bunch of other things, versus where the top two guys were.
You know, like I think you're more towards the Julian question, or the Julian part of this here. You know, I don't know. Like I just said, like I think Brandon Inniss like has the ability to break out and to be that, you know, kind of level of receiver. Like Fleming's best year at Ohio State. Yeah, like, but I think we're probably more like the question. Like, I think you're more towards, you know, 35 catches, 500 yards, and 5 touchdowns than you are.
Right. I understand that. What I am asking you is that a result of because there's so many other people who deserve the ball that maybe he falls down the list? Like one of those guys could have gotten the ball 75 times if they wanted to give it to him that way. He proved that by going to Alabama and doing what he did. Julian Fleming left here and went to Penn State. Now, granted, his body had fallen apart. Julian Fleming was never going to be a wide receiver one in college football. Jamison Williams was only not a wide receiver one here because there were 3 other wide receiver ones. So that's what I'm asking you in terms of, this is not about, I'm not even asking a production conversation. Do you think Brandon Inniss has the capability of being a 3rd wide receiver one in this offense if they give him the platform to do so? Or do you think that maybe that's not what he is? And so that's why we're seeing this.
It's a hard question, but I think it's more just it's not what he is.
Okay.
Like I don't know if he's, you know, that type of guy. Which again, like I don't want to sound like I'm like pure hating. Like I still think he can be.
No,
good.
it's fine.
Like, I still think he can be solid. I just like, you know, that doesn't mean it's first round pick or undrafted. Like you could still be an NFL player, right? You could still be a good receiver. You know, you could still be a talented guy. I think you are more towards he's just not the guy to strap the offense to his back and say, you know, he's the slot receiver. We're going to feed him. I don't know if that's just who Brandon Inniss is, but I mean, I still think you can get a lot of quality reps and a lot of quality things out of that position.
Okay. And we'll find out in the coming weeks, right? Okay. Let's take a break. And that went longer than it needed to go, but we heard your text and we heard your voices. So I guess that's a statement I shouldn't be saying. Let's take a break. And then there's, I think, 2 other things offensively that are pressing about this offense. And then we're going to do some fun stuff here on Buckeye Talk.
New Vitamin Water Zero Sugar Pineapple Passion Fruit is packed with vitamins. Just like the amount of peas we packed in that sentence. It's packed like your tote bag. The one you stole from your ex. Or your overpriced half a studio apartment. Or extra rushed rush hour traffic. Packed like your calendar. Triple booked at 5, of course. Grab a vitamin water. Did we mention it's packed with vitamins?
This episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. Healthcare professionals can lead their careers with LinkedIn. Discover jobs by specialty, preferred shifts, and even desired salary. From mental health therapists to radiology technicians, it's now faster and easier for healthcare professionals to find the right fit. Learn more at linkedin.com/healthcare. Side effects may include faster job placement, improved work-life balance, and increased career satisfaction.
And we're back here on Buckeye Talk. Stephen Means, Stefan, Krajisnik, and Andrew Gillis talking Ohio State's offense into its first of 2 bye weeks. I'm going to combine these 2 things because we're going to mark something down here. Stefan, who's Ohio State's starting right guard when they play Washington, and why?
I think it'll still be Tegra. And the reason why is, I mean, this isn't going to be the most convincing answer. The reason why is that there was probably moments throughout the last 12 months where we've asked ourselves the same question, and the answer continues to be Tegra. So whether it be experience, whatever it is, they like him.
Andrew, who is going to take the first snap at running back when Ohio State plays Washington in 2 weeks?
C.J. Donaldson.
And why?
I think Ohio State's probably not ready to officially kind of make that changing of the guard. I know you're coming out of a bye week, but I still think you want to keep both those guys involved with CJ and with James. And I think, you know, we're going to see a little bit of what we've seen so far where, you know, CJ's probably your top guy. And I mean, the way that Ryan Day talked about Bo Jackson was like, he said, like, it doesn't take a veteran coach to recognize talent when you see it, and Bo has it. We're going to keep bringing him along and blah, blah, blah. The more he can, the more we can give him, the more we will, and blah, blah, blah. That to me sounded like there's a development plan for him, but he, look what we have. He. Like, he was kind of like giggling under his breath as he was probably talking about Bo, because I think Ohio State knows what they have. But I also think Ohio State knows Bo Jackson probably is not ready to handle a, 25 carry a game, workload physically, mentally, like we've talked so much about this team, kind of protecting their running backs. And we said it, like, they had a super freak at receiver last year, JJ, who was a freshman. And by the end of the year, JJ had talked about kind of physically needing a little bit of a break and needing a little bit of, kind of a breather because of how long that season was. And it's hard to forget, he's 18, 19 years old. So I think Ohio State's aware of that, especially with how tolling the running back position is. And I think we're going to see a slow, gradual bringing along of Bo to the point where I think we will get to the end of the season and Bo is the starting running back, or this team's starting running back. Maybe we get even to like the end of October and he's this team's starting running back. But I think right now it is CJ, and they are just going to keep giving more and more and more and more to Bo. And there will come a time where it is just, we will wake up one day and go, Bo Jackson's this team's starting running back. We could see this coming a couple of months ago, but now it's officially here.
Okay, let's start with Bo. Stefan, do you agree with Andrew that CJ Donaldson will be the starting running back when they play Washington in 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think it'll be CJ, but I think it'll be more just, we've seen this team lean on experience, or the staff lean on experience in spots where they think experience is important. So I think they'll start CJ just because it's the first road game of the season and they don't want to put Bo Jackson in a spot right away. I would not be surprised if Bo Jackson played the most snaps. Or let me rephrase that. Had the most carries among the running backs against Washington.
For what it's worth, James Peoples has started the last 2 games. I love how both of you are just out on James Peoples already.
No. That's not true at all.
No, not true.
That's not true at all. But what happened when they played against Texas? What did Ryan Day say they were leading on? Experience, and they started CJ Donaldson.
That's true. That was week 1, though. This isn't week 1 anymore.
This is week 1 of road schedule.
Yeah, that's fair. I went back to 2021. This season is it's 2021 with a better defensive coaching staff and much better defensive coordinator. Davion Henderson did not start on the road against Minnesota in the first road game of the season, first game of the season, and he did not start against Oregon at home. And then they threw him out there against Tulsa, and he ran like a madman, and then they never looked back. He was their starting running back for every healthy game of his career up until they played Penn State last year when Quinshon Judkins went out there first, but then they were coach starters, so that doesn't really matter. Second point, Bo Jackson is not getting 25 carries in any game at any point in his Ohio State career. I can guarantee you right now that is not going to happen. In fact, I will mark down that during Bo Jackson's entire Ohio State football career, nobody gets the ball 25 times, ever. I'll mark that down. So he doesn't need to be ready to get the ball 25 times because J.K. Dobbins got the ball 25 times, and that's why nobody gets the ball 25 times at Ohio State anymore. He was awesome. He was also worn down by the time they got to the playoff. I would be shocked if somebody got 20 carries in a game this year. Because CJ Donaldson got it 19 times. I think that is and that's because they were purposely just running the ball up the middle the entire game. I think Bo Jackson's going to start against Washington. That wasn't everybody calm down, everybody relax. That was, hey, Bo's like kind of awesome, right? And JJ on Saturday went, yeah, I told y'all last week he was pretty awesome. And then Ryan goes, yeah, he's pretty good. That guy's pretty awesome. I think he's going to start. I am starting to, because if you notice in the red zone, CJ Donaldson, I think he's gotten every red zone carry in a meaningful snap. Obviously, what was happening against Grambling, everybody was getting red zone carry. You and I could have gotten red zone carries if we were on the field. But I think against OU, I think he got every single carry in the red zone. I think we're back there, Stefan. Not fully where he's only short yardage, but that is where he's most valuable to this team as a running back. And then also he can be a receiving threat. So I think that is going to be his role. I think we're going to live in the world where in terms of between the 20s, that's where James Peoples and Bo Jackson live. And I don't think there's like a guarantee that Bo Jackson's going to start every single game this year. And I don't think there's a guarantee that James Peoples is going to start. I just think they're Quinshon and Travion at this point. But then James Peoples is the red zone. guy, and then he'll sprinkle in some other places. But I think we're here now where Bo Jackson's averaging like 12 yards a carry right now. And Ryan Day once again brought up ball security on Tuesday. But I can't tell if he's bringing that up because Bo's maybe struggling with that because he's a true freshman, or if it's just because that's what he likes to talk about is don't turn the ball over, because don't turn the ball over, right? James Peoples, I think, is the best pass pro of the three right now. That's my opinion. You don't have to agree with that. And so that's why if you want to say James Peoples might start, all right, that makes sense because you think they might throw it around the yard. But I think we're here now. I think we are where Travion Henderson was when Ohio State went to Rutgers in 2021, where he's the dude now. He's your starting running back because he just spent 2 games in a row getting used to playing college football, and now you throw him out there. The difference is, unlike with Travion Henderson, where he eventually, to Andrew's point, had to get to a Penn State game where it's like, all right, Trey, we're going to give you the ball 26 times. Have fun. Don't break down on us. Bo doesn't have to do that. Bo gets to share the running back carries with 2 other people, so he won't break down the same way. But I think Ryan Day did not kind of tamper the flames on Bo Jackson on Tuesday. In fact, he almost said, yeah, that dude's a dude, and we're going to keep giving him opportunities. Okay, you got 2 weeks of practice to give him those opportunities. And then you're going to throw, just like they threw Julian Sayin out there the last 2 weeks, I think they're going to do the same thing with Bo Jackson.
Yeah, the pass pro thing definitely matters, where maybe you could even make the case for James Peoples starting against Washington, because as I was saying in the Brandon Inniss segment, I think this could be a game where they throw around a bit. So I can see the James Peoples argument. But yeah, you're right. I mean, the way Ryan Day was, the way Bill Rabinowitz framed the question was like, hey, you kind of tempered like the Bo Jackson hype on Saturday when we talked about him. Like, okay, what about now? And I think Ryan Day was like, yeah, I watched the film. That dude's a dude.
Yes. It's because if he'd have done it the other way around, I wouldn't be doing this. Where it was like after the game, he's overreacting to the game just ended. We're all on a high. Whoa, look at this running back. And then he goes and watches the film and he goes, actually. But instead, his initial reaction was to go, calm down, everybody. Let's watch the film. Let's recess. We'll talk on Tuesday. And then he turned on that film and went, oh, man, we should have gave him the ball more. So if it's CJ Donaldson, I get it. Experience, road game, all those different things. This is Ohio State. If you're the dude, you're the dude. You either got it or you don't. And Bo Jackson's got it. So give him the ball. Bo knows, man. Andrew, to the offensive line point. Stefan said, Tegra Shabola will still start against Washington. Do you agree? If you agree, keep it short. If you don't, have at it.
I agree.
Okay. Do we think that's the right choice?
I could speak for me, not we.
Yes.
No. I think it's time to start trusting Ethan Owinyawa with a bit more on his plate.
Yeah, I think we are now firmly on Tegra starts, Onyanwa plays more snaps watch. I think
we're to actual rotation versus.
I think we are nearing the point of Stevens sends our too deep like text out, right? Like he's like, hey guys, here's how Ohio State looks in warmups, and Tegra Shabola's at right guard, and we send a text at the 3rd drive of the game and say, hey, Onyanwa's in. And we look at PFF at the end of the game, and we see, Tegra played 28 snaps, and Onyanwa played 32. I think we are fully kind of on watch for that, because I think the tackles have acquitted themselves really well, especially for like any questions that we may have had about them coming into the year. I think Hinsman's playing fairly well. I think Montgomery, you haven't really noticed any issues at guard. You know, granted, they've played one true, really good defensive line, and then they played an FCS team in Ohio. So, you know, Sayin had time in the last 2 games, but I think we'll see as we get closer now. But Tegra is the one to where you go, there's a problem here. And Ryan Day, when he talked about him, he didn't seem thrilled about Tegra. You know, he didn't seem like he was necessarily like head over heels about it. So yeah, I am kind of getting ready to, you know, accept the idea of Tegra Shabola takes the first snap and he's kind of the first up, and here comes Onyanwa very quickly.
I'm changing my prediction. I think Ethan Owinyawa starts, and I'm going to tell you why. Because shaky play, Ohio State staff likes to address. Edric Houston got benched. Not benched. Edric Houston didn't start because he started committing penalties.
We're gonna, We'll
talk about that more tomorrow on the defense pod. But
But yes.
Edric Houston was the second string defensive tackle against Ohio because he started committing penalties. Degra Shabola, they could work around if he played at times last year, and the rotation obviously helped with that. He started committing penalties against Ohio. And that's a direct negative effect on the red zone drives that they had.
Yes.
That hurt red zone situations. So I'm changing my prediction. Live here on Buckeye Talk. A prediction has been changed. Ethan Owens-Yawa is going to start at right guard for Ohio State against Washington.
Stefan took my point. Stole it right from under me.
If you agree, keep it short.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the new rule. If you agree, keep it short. If you don't, you can go long and take your shots because Ryan Day likes to take his. Last thing, let's give Brian Hartline a grade 3 games in as the offensive coordinator.
I'll give him a B.
B+ sounds right. I think you could say maybe they could have more, and maybe they, to lack a better phrase, screwed around a little bit too much against Ohio, where they were trying too many different things. I think that's fair.
But I don't think a lot of that was even the way Day talked about it.
Yeah.
He didn't want to pin it on the players, but I think he was kind of saying
the players didn't do their job.
I think it was
the scheme was fine. The play call was fine.
You're right. He's not going to pin it on the players because I know they get paid a lot of money, but they're not professionals, so it's not the same.
Even pros, John Harbaugh's not going to go up to the stage and be like, Lamar can't do that. You don't throw any players under the bus.
No, you don't. But you do. You put hints out there, right? Like the way he talked about Degra Shabola and that he thought he did some better things in the game, but he also had some penalties, right? We rewatched it, Stefan, and we listened to the players need to do better. Scheme, personnel, coaching. Ryan Day says those are the 3 pillars, and it's one of those every time there's something wrong. And if it's more than one of those things, then you got a universal problem going on. I think it's been personnel when things have not been clicking from an execution standpoint. Even Ryan Day, schematically, we were in the right stuff. So yes, they were doing a bunch of stuff, but it worked. So if you agree, keep it short. I'll give him an A-. In hindsight, I'm okay with you tinkering, especially when you were dominating that team anyway, even if the scoreboard didn't say it at halftime. They had 600 yards of offense, and outside of a 67-yard touchdown pass, you couldn't do anything. So I'm fine with it. Now I'm ready to see the real thing. A-, but I think there's room there for it to grow from that A-.
I would have liked for them to have been, and this might not be a Hartline thing, it might be more of a Day thing. I would have been a little more aggressive against Texas. I thought the conservative approach was probably right, but you're one drive away from losing that game. You almost got ultra conservative.
I think the play calling, the second to last possession they had, where they probably should have gotten 1 first down and been able to run the clock out after that, I didn't think that was great. And I think that was a result of some of the conservative play that they were doing. But again, if the reasoning is you didn't want to put Julian Sayin in a bad spot, and in hindsight you realize you probably could have, I wish they would have had that hindsight at halftime and not after the game. Because if they would have had that epiphany at halftime, I think Ohio State could have won that game 24-7. But you live and you learn. Final break here, and then we're going to talk some non-ball talk here on Buckeye Talk.
Hey, this is Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast, here to help you make the most of your summer with Michelob Ultra, a superior light beer worth playing for. Play for it with the guys when you're competing to see who can sink more birdies on the golf course, because winning tastes even better with Ultra on the line. Play for Ultra. Fill your fridge with Michelob Ultra this summer. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2025 Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
The family that vacations together stays together. At least that was the plan. Except now the dastardly desk clerk is saying he can't confirm your connecting rooms.
Wait, what?
That's right, ma'am. You have rooms 201 and 709.
No, we cannot be 5 floors away from our kids.
The doors have double locks. They'll be fine.
When you want connecting rooms confirmed before you arrive, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to Hilton. I see your connecting rooms are already confirmed.
Hilton, for this day.
And we're back here on Buckeye Talk. Stephen Means, Stefan Krajisnik, and Andrew Gillis. We're introducing a new thing this week. It doesn't have a name yet. I think it'll have a name by this time next week when we do this podcast. What's the most interesting thing away from football that's on your mind? Stefan, you first.
Gillis had a lot of his Ohio friends in town, so I spent a decent amount of time around Gillis this weekend. So he's heard me talk about this. Black Mirror came out with a new season in April, and I don't think anybody knew that.
Is that show still on?
Yeah, it's on Netflix, and the show was pretty successful, and I liked the show throughout its first 5 or 6 seasons, I like kind of how it'll trip you out a little bit, but every episode is kind of its own standalone episode, and you could walk into a room and someone's watching it, and you can get interested because you don't have to watch the episode before to understand what's going on. And I thought Black Mirror was a pretty successful show to where I remember new seasons coming out and it being like hyped up a ton, and like Netflix really promoting it. And I was talking to Gillis and some of his friends this weekend. And it was like, just randomly Black Mirror came to mind. I was like, when is the new when is the new season coming out? And I Google it, and it came out in April. So maybe I can watch it at some point here in the bye week, and while we're traveling to Seattle, and I can come back on Buckeye Talk and give my takes on what the new season was like. But I don't know about you guys. I had no idea that a new season came out. Like if a new season had come out and it just kind of sucked, and it's like, all right, like 7 seasons is officially too many seasons. That happens with shows all the time, right? Like you get to a point where it's like, all right, the show can probably end at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still interested in Black Mirror, and I just had no idea that a new season had come out.
I didn't even know that show was still on. I thought it ended a decade ago.
Bad marketing right there.
That's terrible marketing. But I guess Netflix has moved on to marketing other things. Like mine.
SEC documentaries?
Yeah, SEC documentary. That documentary sucked, by the way.
Yeah, the first 2 episodes were decent, and then it got pretty rough after that.
It felt like, I think why everybody's annoyed with the SEC, because they weren't promoting the teams in the SEC that are the reason people think the SEC is good. They were promoting the okay teams. And it was funny that it ended with, Tennessee got its butt whipped in the college football playoff. That documentary, that sucked. It also meant that all the teams you actually wanted to get for that said, because how do you not have Georgia? It's first year Kalen DeBoer. How do you not have Bama? What are we doing?
It was the teams that needed kind of the promoting that probably took up on it.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't mean more in the SEC. What's yours? What are you thinking about, Andrew?
Man, well, my life has kind of been revolved around football for the last week. I mean, like our lives in season are, but like especially for this past week because my apartment looked like a campground for the last couple of days. I had a bunch of my friends from Ohio University come in. One of them was from Canada. One of them is from Chicago. One of them is from Cleveland. One of them is from Minnesota. Not all of them stayed with me, but most of them did. So they were kind of all over the map. And like, whenever you have guests over, you become keenly aware of the pros and cons of your apartment or pros and cons of your living area. No, nobody broke anything. Nobody broke anything. Thank God. But I basically had my washing machine and dryer running like nonstop yesterday. Blankets, towels, clothes, just everything had to be cleaned. Everything had to go. Everything had to be taken care of. And now I'm kind of like, now that we have a bye week, I'm probably just going to sit on my couch and watch football for a combined 24 hours on Saturday and Sunday.
Now we have a bye week. Andrew's going to do what he gets paid to do already.
Yeah, and like I'm going to sit on the couch. Like Indiana plays Illinois at night. Auburn, I think, plays Ole Miss during the day. Like I'll be interested in that one. Like there's games on that I'm going to be interested in. I'll watch the NFL on Sunday. But like as I'm getting this ready, I'm like, okay, fall is here. And I got to start like improving my apartment quarters. So like I'm gonna go buy some new couch pillows. I'm looking for like storage unit stuff. So like I'm like home improvement mode this week. What can I do to make my living situation better for me and more accommodating for guests whenever I have them at Casa de Gillis? So I'm gonna go buy like a storage unit for my bathroom, so I can it can look neater, and I can put towels and cosmetic stuff in there. I would like to just kind of tidy up and purchase some things that make it look a little more homey.
It doesn't sound like you're trying to make it more homey. It sounds like you're trying to make it a better Airbnb.
That's exactly what he's doing.
Maybe that's fair.
This dude on Saturday was complaining about the guests in his house, and now his conclusion is, how can I make this a better place for the guests that I don't want in my house anymore?
Well, look. It reaches a point. We've all had that where it's just like, I love my friends, or I love my family, or I love whatever. Like, if you're listening to this, like, think about it. You have family come into town on Tuesday afternoon for Thanksgiving, and they stay Tuesday, they stay Wednesday, they stay Thursday, they stay Friday, and let's say they're leaving Sunday morning. A Friday morning, you're kind of like, all right, I got to do some laundry. Like,
after you eat the meal on Thanksgiving. After you're done eating on Thanksgiving, it's like, all right, I want to get out.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you can leave my house now. So, like, you reach a point where you're like, I want my space back. But my one friend visited last December when we went up to the MAC championship game. He walked into my apartment. He looked at it and went, "Huh, Gillis, by any chance, are you a single guy that lives by yourself? Because it looks like your apartment, you just got a $1,000 gift card to the Fanatics home and office section, and you went nuts." So I would like to make it a little more. I know, but I would like to make it a little more homey. And
there are like 2 or 3 too many pictures of Alex Ovechkin.
Yeah,
we've reached capacity on Alex Ovechkin. Memorabilia.
There are, yes. See, but here's the thing: they won the Stanley Cup in 2018, and everything was fine. And then what happened is he broke the all-time goals record last April. And he hit 895 and he broke Wayne Gretzky's record. And I went, oh, well, all right. Well, the apartment's getting some upgrades now. So, yeah, so I needed to do that. That was a necessity. I stand by that. But yes, we are maybe a Michael's trip in our future. Maybe a Lowe's or a Walmart trip. Maybe we get some more plants in here. I don't know. But we are on home improvement watch week this week. That is what is going on outside of football.
I have a solution for your guests that you feel like stay too long.
Get them an Airbnb gift card or tell them to stay at a hotel.
Yeah, like years and years ago, they created these things called hotels. There's a lot of them in Columbus, like a lot too, and they're pretty cheap too. You can get some of these hotels are like $80 a night. Yeah, that's how you solve that problem. Speaking of Netflix, have you guys seen the K-pop Demon Hunters movie?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Okay, well, I live with my girlfriend, so these are the things I have to do in my spare time.
You don't just watch SEC documentary.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, I do non-sports things as well. It's amazing. It's an amazing thing. I can't escape it now. It's everywhere.
What's it called?
K-pop Demon Hunters.
Is it like spooky?
No, it's K-pop, but in anime form. And I'm telling you, when she turned it on, I was
on IMDb.
It's freaking ridiculous, man. Here's the deal. Gillis is single, and I'm putting everybody's personal life out there.
He's gonna blast that out to the podcast.
Well, I think people have just kind of assumed that when they were told that a bunch of Ovechkin photos are up in your house. Yeah, that's not happening in a house.
They're just thinking like a girlfriend would not stand for that.
Yeah,
the 1 is fine, 2 is too much.
That's what I'm saying. These are the things, like you're talking about throw pillows. I already have those in my home. There's a Kobe Bryant
I don't have throw pillows
poster
on my
behind
couch.
me.
I have the pillows that the couch came with.
Yeah, no, there's a Kobe Bryant photo behind me. This is in our office. This is not like out in the world. This is my area of life. Everything out there belongs to her. I have a bathroom and an office. That's it. So back to, Gillis is single, and the Ovechkin posters told you that. And Stefan's girlfriend doesn't live with him because they live in different cities right now. So they get to live, I am living in sports world 24/7 lives. I'm living in the sports world, I would say 27, like that. There's 4 hours dedicated to, and so we're watching this movie, and I'm thinking the whole time, I'm going to hate this movie. This is not anything up my alley. It's the greatest movie I've ever watched in my life. That's an overstatement, but it's quite enjoyable. So if to our texters and our listeners, go watch that movie. It's on Netflix. I don't know why this movie is so good, but now I can't escape it. It's on all of my timelines. My timelines on every single social media app are this movie and college football.
It's weird. Fascinating when something takes over your algorithm.
I can't get rid of it. And one of them makes sense. Oh, I cover college football for a living. This is why every other thing is college football. But it's that in this movie. It's a great movie. Go watch this movie. And then tell me about it. 614-350-3315. It's a 2-week free trial. Netflix is not a 2-week free trial. They don't even let you share passwords anymore. No. But this is a 2-week free trial. We don't really have a password you can share. And please don't screenshot. Actually, do what you want. You paid for it. 614-350-3315. 2-week free trial. $3.99 after that. That was offense and some nonsense. Tomorrow we'll do defense and some more nonsense because it's the off week. And so it's all nonsense. For Stefan, Krajisnik, and Andrew Gillis, I'm Steven Means. I'll talk to you guys later.